Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and today we're taking a look at some of the cheapest accessories that you can buy for the PlayStation 5. I know there are loads of branded or expensive items out there, but these are the budget-friendly options. So the mission today is to spend as little as possible and see how these accessories actually perform, as well as if they're worth buying. As always, everything I show you is linked down below in the description, and I will put the prices on screen as we go. Okay, so if you're looking to add a second controller but don't want to spend $60 to $70 on the DualSense, you can pick up one of these instead. This is an officially licensed wired controller that works with the PlayStation 5 for less than £30. It comes in loads of colours, but I've gone for the grey with this nice matte rubbery finish. And as you can see, it's got all of the usual buttons you would expect to see, including the PlayStation Home button on the front. And if you look really closely, the touchpad also has those tiny icons printed onto it. Although it does technically work on the PS5, it will only work on PS4 games and not PS5 games. This is fine if you need a second controller to play those older games, or for ones that your children might play, but it won't be any good if you want to use it just with PS5 games. It appears to be the only third-party controllers out there for the PlayStation 5 are the Pro controllers and are far more expensive. But this one feels really nice to hold, but it is noticeably smaller than the DualSense controller. I would say it's a little bit smaller than the DualShock 4, so it's probably better suited for smaller hands. Next up is this dual charging dock from PowerA, and this is probably the best way to charge your controllers. This is another officially licensed controller and it comes in slightly cheaper than the PlayStation version. So inside the box we have the charging cable and the dock itself. And I like how it's on brand with the PS5 with the all black and white theme. There are also these little grippy pads where the controller will sit, as well as this massive PlayStation logo on the front. Now unlike the Sony dock, this one lets you place your controllers back to back instead of facing the same way. And I like that you don't need to fit any weird adapters onto your controller for it to work, which is what you often need to do with the cheaper docks. You just simply slot the controller into the dock and it starts to charge. I've also tested this with the Edge controller, and even with those extra function buttons across the bottom, it fits and works absolutely fine. And comparing the two together, I actually think the PowerA dock looks even nicer and on brand than the official PlayStation one. So I'm not sure which one you would go for out of the two, but for me I think this one looks like the official PlayStation one. So as I'm sure you're aware, the PS5 covers or plates can be swapped out to any of these official colours, but there are also loads of cheaper options out there if you don't want to spend the £45 or the $55. So I had a look through Amazon and I picked up the cheapest set of plates that I could buy, and these were £22, so that is literally half the price. Now they don't come in any kind of fancy packaging, but on first impressions these look good. Now I'm currently using the D-brand retro plates, which we need to remove by pulling the top corners and pulling down. Once it's off, it's a case of pushing and sliding the new ones back on. Now normally this would only take about 10 seconds to do, but believe it or not, this actually took me nearly 5 minutes to get these lined up and popped on, and that's because each time I got one side to click in, the other side would pop off. But after a few minutes of trying, this is how it looks, and other than the lack of the PlayStation logo on one side, these look as nice as the official ones. In fact, you could say these are more black than the Midnight Black version. There's obviously no tiny icons on the inside or the Sony logo, but for something that's half the price, this is not bad at all. For me, the biggest issue is the time that it took to fit. I actually almost gave up after a few minutes, but once fitted, you probably won't need to remove them again anyway. So how many times do you dust your PS5? Well, it's probably not enough. Well, when you're not using it, instead of it sitting there collecting dust, you can cover it with one of these covers. This one is available in about 20 different colours, but I've gone for the all black option. All you need to do is simply slide it over the top of your PS5 and it will protect it and keep it clean. It even has a cutout around the back for your cables, so you don't need to remove them every time you use it. You can either go for the vertical or the horizontal option depending on how you stand your console. Now obviously you don't want to use your PS5 while it's covered, as it will overheat, so you just need to remove it before use each time. I think this is a brilliant accessory for when you're not using it, and it will obviously keep your console looking pretty clean. Next up, I wanted to grab a cheap internal SSD drive, so I went for the SpawnPoiint one. Remember, we are buying the cheapest accessories today, but they need to be fit for purpose, so it's no good buying a drive that's not fast enough or isn't compatible. Now although the 1TB and 2TB drives are technically better value for money, and we can add up to 8TB now, the 500GB is the cheapest option. So by default, we get a 825GB drive, of which just 667GB are usable. To expand on this, we just need to turn the PS5 off, slide the cover off that has the disk drive, remove this little screw and metal cover, and be ready to install the new SSD. Now the SpawnPoiint one comes with both the M.2 SSD as well as a heatsink, and what I like about this is the heatsink is built into the metal cover, so this will replace the silver one that we've just took off the PS5. Now we need to move the spacer, slide the SSD in, fit the screw and attach the new cover that includes that heatsink. This is such an awesome design. Now we need to refit the cover and we'll get this turned back on. Now the first time you switch it on, you will have to format the drive, but that's it. We've just added an extra 500 gigabytes within just a few minutes. And price wise, this costs the same as buying just one game. As for the speed, well, this is as fast as the internal storage, and that means you can store and play your PS5 games straight from it. And with this extra storage, you could easily add another 5 to 10 games, although I think these should be given away for free with every copy of COD. Of course, you could always add an external SSD drive, but just remember you can only store your PlayStation 5 games, not play them directly from that drive. And if you fancy changing the colour of your controller but don't want to buy a new one, here is a cheaper alternative. These rubber sleeves slide over the top of your DualSense controller and will not only change the colour and style, but will also add this nice rubbery texture. It actually feels even more grippy than before. Plus it will protect it from getting dirty. So that is perfect if you have children using it or you just want a new look. I went for this over the top colour just to show it off, but they do loads of different colours including transparent. Okay, so if you've ever played on the 360, you might remember those little keypads that you could use to type your messages out. Well, you can actually buy those for the PS5 controller as well. These come in black and white and simply plug into the bottom of the controller. They then connect via Bluetooth to your PS5 and will show up under accessories as a PS Plus keyboard. From now, any messages that you need to write, well, you can do it from this little keypad instead of using the on-screen one. The keys are small and pretty fiddly, but it works. It's even backlit so you can use it during the night, and the shape of it means it fits perfectly on the controller. Now there is a headphone jack underneath which passes the audio from the controller, but the keypad doesn't use the controller to power itself. There is actually a battery inside that you need to charge via the USB-C cable. But this is a really cool accessory for those who do a lot of typing while you're gaming. Okay, so I've got quite a few headsets, but these are probably one of the best cheap gaming headsets that you can buy right now, and that's the Astro A10s. These are the Gen 1s, but they cost less than £30 or $30. And honestly, for the money, these are crazy good value. They come in black and you can either go for the blue, red or green details depending on the version you go for. And as they are wired, they simply plug into your controller using the 3.5mm headphone cable and they won't need charging. Oh, and when plugging it in, make sure you push it firmly in as sometimes the mic stops working unless it's pushed all the way in. And as for the controls, well, they're pretty simple. There's a volume wheel on the cable and it has a flip to mute mic, so you can control when you want to talk to others. For a headset that costs less than $30, the sound is really impressive. They are quite bassy, so if you like that in a headset, you will enjoy these. But obviously at this price point, there's no customization or EQ settings that you can save or download. Comfort is good as well with the fabric pads on the ear cups, as well as across the top, which means gaming for long sessions is absolutely fine. And the fact that this is a wired headset means it will work with more than just the PS5. Pretty much any device with a 3.5mm headphone jack, it'll be good for that. And if you needed a cheap headset stand to sit them on, I've picked up one of these for just £8. It's a lightweight stand that has a plastic bottom, a metal pole and a rubber top. Simply slot the three pieces together and we've got this super cheap stand that actually looks nice. It's got some subtle branding across the bottom, but for a stand that's this cheap, you cannot go wrong. Considering how lightweight and cheap it is, it's actually pretty sturdy. And when comparing it to a stand that costs literally 20 times the price, I think it can hold its own. And as you can see, it actually looks quite nice in the setup. I have linked to the different stands below so you can check those out. And if you wanted a headset stand but also needed some space saving on your desk, here is a cheap accessory that will cover that. So instead of throwing your controller or your headset down on your desk, this little clip slides onto the side of your PlayStation 5 and will let you mount your controller and headset this way. It comes in black or white, and I think it's an awesome way to store them without taking up any space on your desk. Now, if you have a setup where space is an issue, or you just want to keep things looking tidy and in one place, this PS5 dock is an awesome accessory. It's kind of an all-in-one stand that does it all. Firstly, the footprint on this is pretty big when compared to the original stand, but it does so much more. All you need to do is slot the PS5 onto the top, and this one is available in black or white. But as I've gone for the white one, I will now swap back to the white plates. Around the front, we've got this USB-C cable that you do need to plug into the PS5 if you plan on using all of the features. So the first one is the fact that it's got these two charging docks on the side. By default, the LEDs underneath it are blue, but as soon as you start charging a controller, they will pulsate through the different colours. And around the front, there's this little controller logo that goes from green to red. Now the DualSense controller will fit, but unfortunately the Edge controller doesn't, and that's because of those function buttons. There's even an inbuilt fan to try and keep your PS5 cool. You can control the fan speed around the front by pressing these buttons, or you can have it off completely. For me, it's just too loud to have it on the fastest setting, but it's a cool feature either way. There's also a USB hub on the front if you need to plug in more devices or charge other items. Then around the other side there's a tray to store all of your physical games, so any games or steelbooks you have you can keep in one place. And you know what, it looks pretty neat here as well. And then finally it does come with a headset mount that clips onto the side of the PS5, similar to the one that we saw earlier. And this now means you've got your headset, your controllers and everything in one place. For me, £35 for a stand, charging dock, a game tray and headset stand, as well as the cooling fans if you needed it, I think this is great value overall. So you know how the PlayStation logo on the side of the console is black? Well, you can change the colour of this with one of these, and this has to be the cheapest accessory, coming in at around £2 per sticker. I did cover this a couple of years ago on the channel, but it's a great little mod. All you need to do is remove the cover by pulling the top corner down and out at the same time. Then underneath you'll see this perfect little cutout with the PlayStation logo. You can choose any colour for this, but I'm going to go for the retro PS1 logo again. And this looks awesome. Now we need to refit the plates, and instead of the standard black logo, we've now got this cool retro logo popping through the cover. And of course this will work on any official covers where you do have the cutout on the side. It is such a cheap and easy accessory to add to your PlayStation 5 that it can completely change the look of it. So those were a selection of some of the cheapest accessories that you can buy for the PlayStation 5. What do you think? Were there any that I missed or ones that you think you might pick up? My favourites have got to be the M.2 SSD, as you can never have too much storage, as well as the charging dock, as I think this is actually nicer than the official PlayStation version. Now drop a cheap PS5 in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out my rare PlayStation unboxing video next, as it covers 8 limited edition consoles that I bought and unboxed on the channel. Thanks for watching, please like, sub and follow me over on Instagram and X. Until next time.